with other sessions in the symposium, I'm here just to give like a flavour of what's happening in Scotland for then our international guests to kind of give us more information from their context. So I'm going to try and do 4 to 5 years of research in 4 to 5 minutes, which we'll see how it goes. So in Scotland, the financialisation of land has become quite a hot policy topic. Scotland has been seen as particularly attractive for both natural capital and for forestry. On the right-hand side there are some of our people that we're talking about here, their logos in terms of investors in the natural capital and in the forestry scene. So Scotland's very attractive for natural capital because it's got lots of degraded peatland. Peatland is an interesting habitat where if it's in bad condition, it will let carbon dioxide out into the atmosphere, but if it's kept in a good, healthy state, it will suck it up. So it's a double win if you can restore that peatland. There's also lots of land for planting potential, very strong incentives around the turn of the decade, particularly for grants, for tree planting grants, for carbon credits, and for peatland restoration as well. So the government was strongly incentivising people to partake in these activities, which then the institutions saw as an opportunity, not only for short-term gains, but for very long-term gains as well. The case for commercial forestry in Scotland has been established for quite some time. I'm sure everyone is aware of those, but there's some points there. But the reason why it's been appealing for institutional investors recently is the timeframes involved. So 60 to 100 years for a carbon agreement, which like most farmers aren't thinking 100 years in advance, but pension companies and things like this, pension funds, they often think in these big long timelines. So they're very used to thinking, okay, let's project 100 years into the future and what will my investment look like in 100 years time. So it's very attractive for that. It's a steady income in the sense that carbon credits in particular are released at certain points along the chain. Very low management demands, so a lot of the time it's do the initial work, monitor and evaluate over years. As long as nothing goes wrong, there's not really that much more management to do in that time. And then there's tax breaks involved, particularly capital gains and inheritance tax breaks. This is all based on research that we've been doing since 2020, and it's important to sort of caveat this with the fact that normally this is very small amounts of land that we're talking about in Scotland. So 0.5% roughly of Scotland was transacted in 2023. And these are often very similar each year. So these are very small amounts of land that we're talking about. If I'm dramatising it, I'm dramatising it over 0.5% of Scotland. This is also a good time for me to note that this is work which is ongoing and collaborative work with the Scottish Land Commission. So some of our work with RESAS, hopefully you saw it in there, Simon has been developing the mapping of the land ownership from the Registers of Scotland data. This is a report, and some of these figures and facts that I'll be pulling out will be a combination of the work that we do on the quantitative side with the Land Commission, but also the qualitative side that we do, where we interview land agents. So this is the figures from this report in the bottom right there, up to 2023, which is published. And then there is a new report that's coming out in December this year, where the 2024 data will be added to that as well. And so you can imagine another column on the end of this that says 16 estates have been sold in that time. I show this because, as we will see in a minute, the estate market has taken a bit of a downturn in the last few years, which I'll support with some qualitative narratives as well. So when this research was first commissioned, when we first began it, it was in the years sort of 2020 to 2021. Lockdown was happening. There was a massive increase demand for land, people leaving the country, leaving cities for countryside, but also massive demand for planting trees and the start of the kind of natural capital boom. I think just quickly, here's some work that my colleague James did, just sort of quantifying some of the land values. We can see here, these are marginal land values from Strutt and Parker. You can see how they've suddenly taken a big increase, and that was because of the natural capital potential and the planting potential of marginal hill land. I'm sorry, I can't dwell on any of these slides. We're just going to have to keep going. These reports in the top right, this is more like a signposting exercise more than anything else. Go read these reports if you have time. So each of these years has its own report dedicated to it. Very quickly, 2020 started to see a slowing down, but it was still kind of going up. Natural capital buyers were still very much interested, but were thinking about doing more due diligence. Forestry buyers were becoming ever more kind of looking at the better quality, flatter land. 2023, we saw signs of slowing due to a number of factors, but then in 2024, certainly in the forest sector, price per hectare was going down quite a lot. Marginal land started going down a lot, and we started to see natural capital sales almost completely halt. And then this year, we're just about to start the research again, the qualitative research. But obviously, I'm sure most of you are aware in this room that Brewdog sold Kinvara estate. So there are signs, well, admittedly, they sold it to another natural capital investor, but there are signs that maybe the maths aren't stacking up to what they originally thought that their projections would be. Please no photos of this because it's not published yet. This is figures from the Scottish Land Commission's upcoming report, which should be out next month now. Is that correct? Yep. Julie and James and Simon have been working on this somewhat tirelessly. But you can see that from the when the research started, the 2020 period, lots of sales in forestry and in estates, and then this line has sort of trended down, and then this is 2024 where we're seeing a little bit of an uptake, but overall a downwards. And then this is estates. I put estates on because estates are often seen as like the home for natural capital, you know, the big landscape scale peatland and planting initiatives, and we can definitely see that this is starting to go down. And hopefully the qualitative, when I speak to the land agents in a few weeks' time, the qualitative data will show that as well. So that's it for me, because this was just to set up the talks. So shall I quickly